Hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone, or welcome if you're new. My name is Erin, the Erintainer, and I am here to Erintain you. I know. It's so corny, it's charming. Today, we are going to get into this absolutely wild story. Maybe you've seen it on Reddit, it has gone totally viral. I cannot wait to share it with you. So, without further ado, let's jump right into today's story. Am I the a hole for wanting a divorce when my wife said she was tempted to cheat on me? Whoa. Yikes. What do you guys think? Just off that title alone, I want to see in the comments what y'all think. At least she didn't go through with it, but maybe she did. Let's see. For background, I, 33 male, and my wife, Kate, 32 female, have been married for 8 years. We have one child who was unplanned but not unwelcome. I almost thought he was going to say not welcome. I was like, whoa, you sound like an a-hole right off the bat, dude. When my wife found out she was pregnant, it obviously came as a surprise to us. She'd been taking birth control ever since we started dating, since we agreed that we were not financially ready to have a kid. However, after being married for 5 years and advancing our careers, we felt like we could make it work. Thus, we decided to keep the child and began planning for the next phase of our lives. Prior to Kate getting pregnant, she worked as a waitress at a local restaurant, making just above minimum wage once tips were factored in. Wait. Oh, okay. Because minimum wage for servers in some states is still like $2.13, which is just offensive. So she's making around like, depending on where you live, in southern states, it's still in the $7 range, which is crazy. Or up north in northern states, it's more around like, I think some places $15. So somewhere between $7 and $15 an hour is what this lady's making. On the other hand, I am a construction worker who made 2 to 3 times more than her at the time. We lived in a decent apartment, but we agreed that we would need a real house to have the space for our child, so we began looking for our first home. During that process, and as Kate's pregnancy went further along, she quit her job to focus on preparing for the baby. We found a house that we liked, but it was more expensive than I was hoping for. I make good money working construction, but having to fund 2 people, a new mortgage, and buy all the supplies a baby needs is not easy. I can only imagine. I began putting in more hours at work to be able to afford everything, resulting in me being able to spend less time at home with my wife. The baby finally comes, and he's a healthy little boy. I couldn't be more proud. But once he was born, Kate began to change. She was more tired. Yeah. She was more tired and stressed having to care for a newborn, which I don't blame her at all for. Okay, good. I was worried this story was going to go in a totally different direction. I know kids are a lot of work. I essentially had to raise my little brother, who was 10 years younger than me growing up. However, Kate would also complain that I wasn't around very often, and that when I was home, I wouldn't help with the baby as much as she thought I should. I explained to her that to be able to afford the house, the baby, and the 2 of us by myself, I had to put a lot of extra hours in, and when I come home every day, I am exhausted. I lift heavy stuff for a living. I'm lucky to be able to make it through the day without my back being terribly sore. Okay. I mean, I understand. I'm sure she wants a break from the baby, but you want a break from your work. It just sounds like it's kind of a tough situation to be in. Still, I tried to help out more. I changed diapers where I could, fed the baby where I could, etc. The one thing I refused to do was get up in the middle of the night, which is something I know upsets her. My reasoning is that I'm barely getting 5 hours of sleep at night, and if I get any less, I'm going to be an utter wreck on the job. If that happens and I get less hours or even get fired, we're financially screwed. I understand. I don't have a kid, nor do I want one, but if she was also working a job, I would be more like, well, you guys should share waking up in the middle of the night for the baby. But Since you have to go do a labor-heavy job every single day, especially I'm assuming you're putting more than 8 hours in a day, I can understand why it just might not be feasible for you to also be waking up at night. I mean, that sounds awful, especially considering that, like, yes, obviously, being a stay-at-home mom is a full-time job. It is also exhausting. It is labor intensive. She is healing from giving birth. Her body is changing and her body must be exhausted. She must be so, so, so drained. I'm sure she wants to sleep for days. However, I think I'd hope there's opportunity for her to kind of nap throughout the day. Like if the kid goes down, maybe she can take a break. So I understand why you wouldn't want to be the one to also be, like, waking up in the middle of the night. As time went on, we kept making it work, and eventually things get less crazy and stressful. The older the kid gets, the less constant attention and work he needs from us. That's not saying caring for a toddler is easy, but it's easier than caring for an infant who can't sleep throughout the night. 2 months ago, Kate suggested that she get a regular job again, and we use the extra income to pay for a nanny and, in general, help with the expenses. I agreed because I was exhausted, and the idea of being able to put in less overtime sounded great. Okay, so you both agreed. Fast forward to last night, and Kate has been working as a cashier for 6 weeks now. We've hired a nanny, and the money situation isn't nearly as tight. I was able to work less, though with Kate working now, I'm not able to see her in the mornings, which is usually when I would see her due to how my shifts work. I thought things were going great until Kate sits me down last night to have a conversation. Ooh, okay. Here we go, guys. Buckle up. Here we go. She admitted to me that there's a guy at her work who's been flirting with her despite knowing she's married. He's funny, easygoing, handsome, etc. Well, I'm sure you don't want to hear all this from your wife about some other dude at her work. She said that he asked if she was available to go on a date behind my back, and though she said no, she was sorely tempted to say yes. Whoa. Ooh, see, she coulda just said no. She could have just said no and went on with her day and never verbalized that she was interested in this guy because that's kind of like leaving the door swinging open a little bit. Like, it's cracked still. You didn't close it all the way. You certainly didn't latch it closed and lock it. You know what I mean? This blindsided me then, but now that I've had a day to think about it, I think I can see how this happened. She was always upset that I wasn't home very often, wasn't there to help and support her with the kid, and so on. Our current arrangement allowed me to have more energy when I came home, but since she leaves for work in the morning before I wake up, the actual duration of time I see her each day has shrunk even further. I think the reason she was tempted by this guy at work is that he's giving her the attention she wants from me. I can understand that, but it also pisses me off. Frankly, I've been busting my ass for 3 years to afford our child the house she wanted and her ability to be a stay at home mom. I've been working 10 or 12 hours a day, 6 days a week to afford this, and she's tempted by some guy at work after knowing him for 6 weeks? I felt betrayed more than I ever have before. I I I feel you. I think all your feelings are totally valid. I would feel the same way. You're tired, you're exhausted, you think you're being a great supportive husband. It's like, yes, you wish you could be there for the kid more, but due to your financial situation, that's just not the reality of the situation. I'm sure if you had a job where you could, go in from 9 to 5 and that was your set days and you made a great salary and you could afford easily without stress to have her be a stay-at-home parent and give her time off and you didn't work such a physically exhausting job, I totally understand why you would feel betrayed and upset. I think your feelings are completely valid. I asked to see her phone and she gave it to me without resistance. I went through all her contacts, deleted messages, everything, and didn't find anything suspicious. I don't believe she actually cheated and is only pretending to be tempted to, but I suppose it's possible. She seemed genuinely remorseful during our conversation, but that didn't make me feel any better. I told her in the heat of the moment that I want a divorce, and this caused her to break down in tears and beg me to stay. She asked if I would tear our family apart just over the idea of her cheating, and I threw her words back in her face and said I was sorely tempted. Whoa. I then went to bed and ignored her attempts to get me to talk since I had to work today, the work that has kept our family afloat for the last 3 years, and more if you want to count the 5 years I spent making 3 times more than her. I thought about this all day today, and I'm not sure what to do. I can't get over the idea of my wife wanting to cheat with the first man she spent any extended time with in 3 years. She asked me if I was going to throw it all away over a feeling, but she was going to do the same damn thing with a guy from work. She's angry that I got angry at her in the moment, but I think I have a good reason to be furious. Am I the a-hole? I told y'all this was kind of a complicated one. I think for me, she's being transparent and sharing that she felt tempted. Would I have said that to my partner? No, but some people believe that they should be completely open with their partners about literally like every thought that passes in their head. But I know that like this is going to be a really, really hurtful thing to hear. And I think that if you've been with someone for 8 years and you've kind of been like, in the house for 3 years and you haven't gotten much attention in a little while and you're not fully present and understanding the sacrifices your husband has been making for you, not excusing her at all. She absolutely should have been aware of all of that. But I think that it's natural to be getting some kind of attention after having a kid. Your body's changed. Maybe you're not feeling the same way about yourself and you feel like tempted, but nothing happened. I think flirting is crossing a line. And I think that if she was wise, she would be like, oh, this guy's flirting with me a lot at work. I should keep my distance from this guy. I'm a married woman. I have a child at home. My husband's working really hard to provide for us. Like, this is not me just out there finding a job and a man. I need to like be honest and honorable to my husband. I also think like in really long-term relationships, sometimes you're going to see someone else that you find attractive or want to flirt with, but you're going to have to choose your partner. That's that's why they say marriage is hard is cuz that temptation exists. However, I don't think it's necessary to share that temptation with your partner every time you feel it because what if you're just having like an off couple of months and all of a sudden you're like, "Yeah, I was tempted. Yeah, I was tempted." I don't know. I like for me I would not want to know if David, my partner was tempted by another. I'm just happily in the cloud of like I'm the prettiest he's ever seen, and nobody will ever be like me, and we have a special bond, and he might see a hot girl, but we have something special. Like, I want to live in that delusion. But what do you think? Do you want to know every time your partner has any type of like thought or attraction to another person? I mean, I think the healthiest relationships are so healthy because both people acknowledge, like, yes, we're going to meet other attractive people. We're going to interact with attractive people. But at the end of the day, I'm choosing my partner. I think that you have to kind of, I think you're a little bit hurt. Your ego's hurt because you've been working so hard and it's absolutely inappropriate what she's done. I don't think it's like a divorceable offense though. And I think it's good that you showed her how frustrated and painful this is for you because she needs to really understand how bad this is. But I also don't think she should have said it to you. I mean, on one hand, I'm like, well, good for you. I mean, good. Now you know if she ever did cheat, she would never be able to like live with herself because she feels so guilty for even thinking she might have been tempted when she said no to the person. I think that you're exhausted, you're easily triggered, you need a break, and this triggered you. And I don't think if you were more grounded and relaxed and not working so hard, I don't think it would have affected you in this way. But there's an update, you guys. Well, there's an edit. After reading through many of the comments here, I've decided that I'm going to have a thorough conversation with my wife before taking any harsh action like divorce. I feel, or maybe I just hope, that there's still a chance for us to be happy and healthy together, despite everything that's happened. For starters, I'm going to tell her how I truly feel about all this, not just what I was thinking in the heat of the moment when she told me about what happened with the guy from work. It hurts to know that my wife was sorely tempted by some stranger she met 6 weeks ago after being married for 8 years and having a son together. I've busted my ass literally and figuratively to be able to afford everything, and I feel like she hasn't been appreciating that. I understand that she's been busy at home taking care of the kid, but if we were to trade jobs for a day, I highly suspect that she would change her tune regarding the division of work and effort that we've been putting in. I mean, it's not a competition, but I get what you're saying. Also, I plan to tell her that I want her to quit her job immediately. Even if she wasn't tempted at all, I don't want her around the type of scumbag man to take advantage of a married woman. Like, that's true. That's weird. If someone's married, like, that's a boundary. You're wearing a ring to tell everybody else that you're spoken for. Don't try to talk to me. If she doesn't agree to this, then I will have to assume that there's more between her and the guy at work than she's letting on. Lastly, I want to discuss what needs to be done in our relationship to mend it at this point. As many commenters have pointed out, she's almost certainly feeling lonely and neglected with how little time we get to spend together, but I'm not sure how we can improve that while maintaining our current lifestyle. If I'm going to be supporting our family on my own, then I simply won't have time to spend with her during the week. A few commenters suggested she get a job with hours that align with mine so that we're home at the same time. And honestly, that sounds like it could be a partial solution to this. Even if it's just a few hours a day where we can both be home and not falling over tired, it would be better than what we have now. And as she slowly gets raises and promotions, I'll be able to work less and devote more time to her and our son. I'll probably update this post tomorrow once we have that conversation, but for now, I need to get to sleep. Thank you to everyone for all the feedback and advice. Truly. Okay, we're finally communicating. Something I always say is like the most important part of a relationship. But there are some people on Reddit who had some more to say about all this. So let's see what they had to say. How does she make enough to pay for a nanny and ease the burden of finances as a cashier? I was wondering that too. Someone says, seriously, she'd make minimum wage. It wouldn't even cover a nanny. Someone goes, I was thinking she's a cashier at a men's club and the coworker is a regular. Just a thought. She was working as a waitress in a cocktail bar. That much is true. And a lot of people had this same sentiment. She's a cashier and you can afford a nanny? Yeah, that's true. And he actually edits the post again and responds to this. Many people have been asking how my wife getting a job was able to pay for a nanny and me reducing my work hours slightly. The answer is that we live in the Northeast. I knew it. I knew they lived in the North. It's better up there. Where the minimum wages are good, relatively speaking, and that nanny was a poor choice of words on my part. She's more of an informal babysitter, not an official job. She's a college student who wanted to make some money while taking online classes without dealing the hassle of getting a real job. My wife makes around $600 an hour with a standard 40-hour work week, while we pay the babysitter $10 an hour for 5 hours per day, 5 days a week. After taxes on my wife's income and paying the babysitter, we have around $900 a month left over that has allowed me to reduce my hours slightly. Okay. So, we've figured it all out. All right? We've done the thing. She's working. We figured out the nanny situation or the babysitter situation. He has just sat down with his wife to talk about leaving her job or finding a job that works with better hours. Before I get into the update, I need to clarify something that many commenters were asking about on the initial post. I edited that post as well, but decided I should put, oh, and he just goes over the $900. Okay, here we go. Here's the update. I called in sick to work today, which is something I rarely ever do, and asked my wife to do the same so we could sit down and talk about everything. She agreed, and this morning we had a long, heartfelt discussion. I told her that I was sorry for what I said in the heat of the moment. I don't want to divorce her. I was angry and hurt and wasn't thinking about the damage threatening divorce would do. I told her that I understand things have been difficult for us the last 3 years, but I was shocked that she would be sorely tempted to cheat on me after just 6 weeks with some random guy at her job. I told her that having been the sole or at least main provider for our family pretty much the entire time we've known each other, I felt like I wasn't being appreciated enough for the work and effort I've been putting in. Aww. Aw, see? Isn't it nice to be honest? She said she felt the same way, that she felt like she was struggling thanklessly since I was never around to be with her. I told her that that was only the case because I had to make enough money to pay for the kid and the house she wanted. And before anyone tries to twist my words, I love my son dearly. I am not simply putting up with him because she wanted to keep him. If I took less overtime to see her and help with the kid more often, we'd have trouble keeping the lights on. We both agreed that we needed more time with each other at home, but talking out how to make that happen took a while. Eventually, I told her that I stand by what I said to her when we first bought the house we are currently in. It's too much house for us. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house with more area than we need, and the mortgage and property taxes are too high. I brought this up when we first looked at the house, but my wife insisted that this would be the perfect house for our family to grow up in, and once it was paid off, we would be set. But seeing how much we've struggled to afford this house while slowly falling apart physically and mentally, I think she understands now that it's too much. Can't live above your means, guys. You can't live above your means. After some prodding, I convinced her that we need to start looking for a house to downsize into. Selling our current house will give us enough cash to pay off the mortgage, though not by much. Once we're in a smaller house with smaller expenses, I won't have to work as much, meaning we can spend more time together as a couple and a family. She told me that she just wanted me back, and I honestly almost cried hearing how much she meant it. I was so focused on working and paying the bills that I lost sight of what we needed as a couple, and our marriage very nearly imploded because of it. This is so sweet. They love each other. This is so cute. The final issue to address was her job, and more specifically, the scumbag who was hitting on her while knowing she was married. Given our current financial situation, it would be stupid to make her quit her job and go back to staying at home. Plus, it would probably only make her feel trapped again since she only recently got back into the world after being a stay at home mom. However, I can't stand the thought of that guy even looking at my wife, especially since I know she harbored some sort of interest at some point, even if it came from loneliness and desperation. I told her at the very least she needs to report the guy to management or HR and ask for different hours so that they're never in the same building at the same time. If that happens, then there's no reason for her to just quit. But if that doesn't happen, then I'll be helping her look for a new job immediately. Things are still difficult right now. But as I type this, a couple hours after the conversation, I think we've both pulled back from the point of no return. We're both just taking the day to calm down and think rationally about what needs to happen to get our financial and personal relationship back on track. But I'm hopeful. Oh, you guys. Thank you so much to all the people who gave advice and constructive criticism. I know lots of you suggested couples therapy, and while I'm considering it, that's another big expense I don't want to take on right now unless it's absolutely necessary. If things continue to improve between my wife and me, then I won't waste the money. But if things start to stagnate or get worse again, then I'll bite the bullet and suggest getting professional help. Aw, I love that. I love that. Yay. You see, guys, communication is key. Communication is key. They were in a challenging situation, and thanks to a conversation, I feel like this is like an example of a positive relationship, like a positive outcome. This is great. Just talk to your partner, y'all. Talk to your partner and don't cheat on each other. That is all I have for you today. That was way more heartwarming. We're starting off the week and the month kind of very heartwarming. I love it. I love it. Let me know what y'all think down below. It's been a pleasure chatting with you as always, and I will see you in my next video very soon. Bye, y'all.